There was a great pitching performance sandwiched in between two really terrible games this weekend against the Twins for the Angels. And it got us asking this question: should Kenny Rosenberg, because he pitched so well, should he be considered for the 2024 starting rotation? Let's talk about it. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And the best way to help us out is by giving us a rate and a review. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you're subscribed and click that bell to be notified every time a new episode drops. And today's show is brought to you by Sleeper. You can swing for the fences on Sleeper Picks, and you could win up to 100 times your money. Download the Sleeper app right now and use our promo code Locked On, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. There are some terms and conditions that do apply. You can see Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 30 states. Check out Sleeper today.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
We hope you had a great weekend, and we're here to talk the Angel series against the Twins this weekend. And just to let everybody know, Locked On Everydayers tomorrow, what happened with Carlos Estevez? We're going to get into that discussion tomorrow. And of course, we'll be taking your questions at the end of the week as well for Fan Mail Friday. But Mike, let's talk about the series weekend recap as the Angels took one of 3 games against the Twins. On Friday, it was an 8-6 loss on Friday.
Yeah, they had a chance to win this game, Johnny. They had the bases loaded in the 9th with your boy, Brandon Drury, up, but he did strike out. Unfortunately, they did get a couple of runs to make it close. But I really think the key moment in this game actually happened after the game, Johnny. The Twins clinched the AL Central, the easiest division in all of the land. and they, jumped around and celebrated on their home turf, which was great for them and great for their fans.
It drives me nuts because the same thing, there was one less wild card in 2012. The Angels had a better record than the first place Tigers. That freaking AL Central, man, drives me insane.
I would love to move to the AL Central.
No
Can we
kidding.
be the Minnesota Angels, right? But that moment when they were jumping around was key for the Angels because Logan O'Hoppe stood in the on-deck circle and watched the entire thing. Paid attention to the entire moment. In fact, he actually walked over to the dugout, stood by the fence, and had his hat on and held his bat and just watched them celebrate. And so the next day, Erica Weston interviewed him and asked him about that moment. And O'Hoppe said, it's not fun to watch another team celebrate. That's where they want to be. He said it's been a really tough year for him personally because he was out for 4 months and having to watch everybody play was such a struggle for him. And we could feel that in his interviews, right? When he said, I can't wait to get back. I can't wait to play. As soon as he had the surgery, he said, I'm feeling really, really good. And he said he's done with losing, and what's done in the darkness, meaning like what's done off the field, will be brought to the light. And he said that this team is not just working out, but they're preparing mentally. And what I gathered from that, Johnny, is he is somebody who wants this. He wants to experience winning. And I love that he said this. This is what's going to endear him to the fans. It's why we don't get mad at Jared Walsh, because we see Jared Walsh talking about being out on the field all the time. And it's why a lot of fans, including us, don't get mad at Mike Trout, because he talks about wanting to get back out there and wanting to play. And that's why we love Logan O'Hoppe. And he also said that he loves playing with Zach Neto, and he believes that they're going to be playing with each other for a really long time. Johnny, what do you think about Logan O'Hoppe being the guy that this team needs to build a healthy culture in 2024?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. You have these young guys coming up. They're getting their first taste of the bigs full time, like Zach Neto and Logan O'Hoppe and even Nolan Shohei getting their first taste of the bigs. Of course you'd want that. Of course you'd want to be there. And of course you want to win. And these guys, look, I know that the Angels have not been great in this last month of the season. I wouldn't put that on those guys. I wouldn't put that on anybody but the pitching, the starting pitching, the bullpen, you name it. And I wouldn't put that on these guys who are hungry to win. Yeah, sure, you might have an 0-for-4 night or something like that. Zach Neto might have a misplay or what have you. But these guys are young. They're learning. They're figuring it out at the top level, top professional level in the entire world. So for them to come in and have this attitude is something that I think has really been missing from the Angels culture. Now, I will say this. I'm concerned that the culture they're displaying on the field is not going to be matched by the front office or ownership or the inner workings of the Angels organization. Now, we know that they've had successful minor league seasons. It was the 66ers who went to the playoffs. It was the Trash Pandas who went to the playoffs last year. Those guys are building a winning culture from the top down because of who's on the team and who's coaching those teams. I'm concerned that the enthusiasm that these guys bring to the field is not going to not only be matched by the Angels front office, but the front office might be kind of a killjoy, Mike. I mean, I think that the Angels have robbed Mike Trout of a lot of his energy and enthusiasm that he's brought to the game. And I understand he's been hurt the last few years, but when you sign that deal in early 2019, you expect the pieces to be put around you to help you contribute. I mean, you signed a lifelong deal to be there, and that you obviously do that with a lot of energy and enthusiasm for the team that you play for. So these young guys, I applaud them. I love them. I will watch every single game that they're in. The one concern I have is the Angels' ability to match that energy.
That's a great point. Let me push back just a little bit. I think that what Perry is doing is building this team in the image of a Logan O'Hoppe and a Zach Neto and a Nolan Schanuel. And so I think that maybe perhaps the culture that they're hoping to create isn't going to be here in 2024, but with the draft picks and the way that they've built through the minor league system, perhaps 2025, maybe 2026. I know Angel fans want to hear that. But I would say that the one person that they can count on to at least build from within is Perry Manassian. Now, if he goes and gets free agents because they're going to try to go for it again next year, then I could see the tension there. And we've talked about it on this pod, bringing in players from other teams. It hasn't really worked here. It hasn't really meshed. There's some anomalies, like Mike Moustakas is one of those. But ultimately, I think that what we've experienced is a whole lot of different cultures coming in and trying to figure it out and trying to figure out who the winner is and who the leader is and trying to figure out who's going to coach us well. And what Manassian is doing is getting guys like Neto and O'Hoppe and Schanuel and others to come up and perform and carry with them an excitement about winning, carry with them an excitement about, we want to build something here. We want to build a winning team here. And so I think that you're accurate in looking at the history of the Angels, but I would push back a bit and say, I think Perry has his thumb on what this team could do in the future and how it could be better. And I think it is building from within.
Perry certainly wouldn't be the problem in the equation that I brought up of will the Angels match their enthusiasm. I don't think Perry was the one guy that I don't think would be a problem in matching that enthusiasm. Now, the Angels started Friday night's game with an opener, and they had Jose Suarez go out there. He was going to be followed by Davis Daniel. Here's their lines from that night. 1 2/3 innings pitched for Jose Suarez. 2 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, and 3 Ks. Davis Daniel, somebody who has been up with the big club before and didn't make his debut until this year. He was technically in the dugout last year and didn't pitch. 4 1/3 innings, 3 hits, 3 runs, 5 walks, and 6 Ks. I liked what I saw from Davis Daniel. He was Griffin Canning-like, I guess you could say. The problem in this one, Mike, obviously, is the walks. And he just seemed to have trouble locating the pitches. And again, 5 walks to 6 Ks. I mean, the 6 Ks are great, but you guys, you put runners on, you put guys on base, that's going to bite you in the foot at the end of the day. So the Angels had 10 walks in this particular game on Friday.
That's the struggle with the end of the season when you're not playing for anything and you're just looking at young guys.
Yeah.
I get excited about a Davis Daniel, and I get excited about what he could potentially be for this team. I think the tension that I feel, and I know you feel and Angel fans feel, is when the games matter, it seems like our young guys are not comparable to their young guys. You know what I'm saying? And so we get really excited about them here and we're like, hey, I like what I saw there. And if he could improve this and improve that. But then the next season rolls around and you have a season like Sandoval had, or you had a season like Detmers had, and you go, well, what happened? They just didn't improve. They just stayed, they plateaued, right? And that's why coaching matters for these guys. And so I really like what we saw from Davis Daniel. I just think that you got to get him around some really good coaches. You got to get him around some guys that are going to help him to develop and extend and work on pitches and work on the metrics and all of those things. And at this point, as we've stated numerous times, and Angel fans, everydayers, you know this, we just don't seem to have that right now.
Fire the whole coaching staff. Get a new one. Turn it off and turn it back on. Let's go.
Have you unplugged it?
Right. Nolan Shohei had continued his on-base streak to 25 games on Friday night.
Yep.
Walshy hit a 2-run home run that was beautiful. I tweeted out, name a better duo than Matt Vasgersian and Jared Walsh home runs, because every time Matt Vasgersian is on the call and Walshy hits one, oh, Walshy, get yourself some. I love that. Michael Stefanik went 2 for 4 in this one with an RBI. All these guys should have a role in 2024. Walsh, Shohei, Stefanik. Stefanik's got to be there. Off the bench, playing every day, whatever you say, I think he's got to be there, Mike. I'm tired of seeing this guy splitting his time when you need contact guys like Stefanik. And he just, every time he's been up this season, I think he's delivered in this one. The Angels are playing the Rangers at 6:38 Pacific time. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. Just search Angels. Coming up on Locked On Angels, what did Logan O'Hoppe say that gets us excited for next season? Well, we're going to talk about all of that coming right up.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by DoorDash. If you love the convenience of getting what you want right at your door, then you're going to love DoorDash. With DoorDash, grocery delivery is easy for you. You can stock up for the week, or you can order those last-minute cravings conveniently. And with DoorDash, you'll get exactly what you ordered, or they'll make it right. So sit back, relax, and enjoy quality groceries just like you pick them yourself. And even if you want more value, then you can save on all your grocery and restaurant favorites with $0 delivery fee on all eligible orders with a Dash Pass membership. With easy substitutions right in the app and best-in-class customer support, DoorDash delivers groceries exactly how you want it. So right now, get 50% off your first DoorDash order up to $20 value when you use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB at checkout. There is a limited time on this offer, so be sure to do it sooner rather than later. Some terms do apply. That's 50% off with our promo code LOCKEDONMLB with your first order with DoorDash.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Locked On Everydayers, we're going to be here every single day of this Rangers series, recapping what happened after each game. They're playing the Rangers at 6:38 Pacific time. Now, I know we have a chance to play spoiler, but man, if there's anybody in the AL West that I want to see beat the Astros and the Mariners, it's going to be the Rangers. So we'll see what happens. Maybe they'll clinch the division on our field, and Logan O'Hoppe, you'll have to watch that again too and fire him up for next season even more. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. All you got to do is search Angels.
On Saturday, the Angels had a great pitching performance. They won 1-0, and it was Kenny Rosenberg that pitched really, really well, Johnny. He went 5 innings, gave up 5 hits, no earned runs, struck out 5. It seems like when Kenny starts from the beginning and doesn't have an opener, he does a whole lot better. And it also seems like when he's not the innings eater, I'm just going to come in and do the Jaime Barria thing. It seems like he's really successful, John. And Logan O'Hoppe was talked to after this game, and he said, I could see Kenny in the 2024 rotation next year. So, Johnny, are you in agreement with Logan O'Hoppe? Could you see Kenny in the 2024 starting rotation?
Well, he's done this 3 times, Mike. The first time he started, the second time he had an opener, and the third time, this was Saturday's game, he started this one. And I believe after we recapped the game in which he had an opener, I said, maybe he's just a guy who does better from first inning onward. And that was the case in this one. 5 innings pitched, 5 hits, no runs, and 5 strikeouts. And man, as much as we've been wanting guys to get through innings and eat up innings and whatnot, to do 5 innings and not give up a run against the Twins, and then this game ended up being a shutout for the Angels. It's one thing to like prevent a team from scoring. It's another thing to have a 1-run lead and then walk that tightrope of trying to prevent them from scoring, because it's almost like the 1-0 cushion is a completely different mindset than a 0-0 ball game and you're waiting for your guys to score. Now you're in a position of, I got to maintain the lead now. I got to make sure it sticks and give us a opportunity to win this game. So for Rosenberg to go out there and do that was fantastic. Is he somebody who can be in the 2024 rotation? Well, I guess if you have to consider the available options, I would say 4 of the 5 options are spoken for in terms of Anderson, Sandoval, Detmers, and Griffin Canning. So if they go back to a 5-man rotation, I think you got to put Chase Silseth in there. If they go back to a 6-man rotation, I'd rather see Kenny over Jaime Barria or Jose Suarez. Jose Suarez has always been better out of the bullpen. Even back to 2021, he's been a better long relief guy. And even when he is a long relief guy, it's not so much that you're putting him in because you're down 8-0. It's like, hey, it's a close game, but we need to just get 3 more innings out of somebody. And he comes in and does a great job. And so if I had to go to a 6-man rotation, obviously I'm putting Chase Silseth in there, who should be back this week, by the way, and pitch a game for us. I know that the rotation is kind of up in the air considering Anderson's on the IL. But again, if Anderson sticks around next season and you have Chase Silseth, I think if you have a need for a 6th guy or even a spot start, I think Kenny is your guy who should be the first one that you go to.
Yeah, when you look at the rotation, obviously I think Chase is going to be at the top end of this rotation. Let's say you just run with the young guys, right? I think Chase has got to be at the top, and I think Griffin Canning's got to be at the top. I think they've earned the right to be there, and I think having 2 right-handers in this starting rotation, because we only had one outside of the 4 guys that we had pitching.
And it was Ohtani.
And it was Ohtani, right? And so I think having those guys at the top would be great. Obviously, Sandy and Detmers are going to get their shot. I think Kenny is somebody you have to consider. And then when you think about the bullpen, Johnny, there is a piece in the bullpen that is somebody who was a starter, and then they brought him up and they were working out the kinks, and that's Sam Bachman. So, I mean, if you don't have him in the starting rotation and you put him back in the bullpen, I think that only solidifies your pin because you have another really strong right-hander, and he did pretty good before he got hurt. And I'm with you. I think that when it comes to
Suarez,
thank you. I kept thinking, like, who am I talking about?
He's forgettable. It's okay.
Maybe we shouldn't have him on this team. Yeah. When it comes to Suarez, I think it might be worth the shot to have him be in the bullpen as well. Yeah. He's a young guy who has some great pitches, and maybe just starting hasn't been something that he could figure out.
He can't get through the order 3 times.
Right. So maybe you allow him to do an inning or do 2 innings, right? Yeah. And maybe he ends up being a 5th or 6th inning guy, or maybe he's the opener for some of these guys if they need to go a bit longer. I think that there's ways that you can use him instead of trading him. I'm not sure how much you get if you trade him, but I think there's ways that you can use him that would be really successful.
We would be remiss if we didn't talk about the fact that the 1 run came on a Jo Adell home run.
Let's go, Joe.
Guy has been nailed since he came back from the injured list. I know he's had a couple of hitless nights, but man, talk about seeing a night and day difference between Jo Adell, even earlier this season. I know he came up like once or twice and played a game here and played a game there. But when you compare it to last year and even the season before, this guy is working counts. He's swinging at the right pitches. He's not chasing out of the zone. And so for everybody saying, oh, that 40% K, that's old Joe. That's not the same Joe anymore. And I really believe that we're seeing a new version of him and the best version of him.
He was interviewed after the game. Obviously, he's the reason why they won the game. And Erica Weston asked him, hey, what's different about you coming back now? And he said, well, I've kind of tightened up my swing, but I loved what he said. He's in the first at bat. He wasn't as aggressive. He was kind of sitting back and waiting. Mm-hmm. And he said when he got back up and he hit the home run, he said, I was just looking for my pitch. I was looking for a pitch to drive instead of waiting for it to come into my zone or waiting for it to be in this area or waiting for it to be a changeup. He said, I was looking for a pitch that I could drive. And that whole perspective is a perspective shift for him. I think it shows some maturity in him. And if he can get this down, Johnny, I would love to see him in the starting outfield next year.
That swing was effortless, by the way. It was a nice, easy swing. Man, it was all that he needed in order to hit that one out. It's funny, Mike. It's instead of a wait and see approach, it's, I'm going to find the right pitch. I'm going to select it. Did he pick that up in AAA? Because I don't know if that's the mantra of the major league club, but I could be wrong. Yeah. The bullpen held it down. Herget, Joyce, Soriano all pitched. Each had an excellent inning. Estevez went out there and saved it. It was a little dicey because he did hit Kyle Farmer right out of the gate. But we got Joyce in the pen in 24. Carlos Estevez, we've had conversations on if the Angels should go and flip him and get something for him. We'll get into that conversation as the offseason approaches. Sam Bachman, you've talked about being a reliever in the pen. I wonder, Mike, if he's got the same Chase Silseth mentality in that the guy's much better as a starter. Honestly, with so much up in the air for next season, just let these guys go out there and play and figure out what you have. Again, I've said it before, and you guys are going to get tired of me hearing it all offseason, but for John Frisch, for one half of the Super Halo Bros, no expectations next season, and that's the hill I'm going to die on for 2024.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by Sleeper. You can swing for the fences on Sleeper picks, and you can win up to 100 times your money. All you have to do is choose 2 or more players that you like and decide if they're going to overperform or underperform in all of their stat categories. And if you get your picks right, you could win big. And Sleeper works quickly, too. You can make your entries in 30 seconds or less, and there are safe and fast withdrawals and all payouts. You can download the Sleeper app today, and when you do, use our promo code LOCKEDON at sign up, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Check out Sleeper today.
Mike, Sunday's game, the Angels lost this one 9-3, and there was a little bit of a last minute decision making in terms of who's going to start this game. They ended up doing a bullpen game.
Yeah.
And the reason why was because Tyler Anderson's season is over. He went on the IL with left knee soreness. Now, we also heard that Trout will be out the rest of the season. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But they called up Carson Fulmer, who's player number 65 for the Angels this year, according to our friend Sam Blum. And that's one player behind the record they set last year. He was the number 8 overall pick in 2015, but it did end up being a bullpen game. Andrew Wantz started this one, didn't start a fight as an opener, which was great. No beef with the Twins. Fulmer pitched the bulk of this game. He gave up 3 runs, but the first time he's had major league action as a starter or as a pitcher since 2021. The bugaboo in this one is somebody who was on the injured list for a while, but also somebody they were counting on for the bullpen is Jose Marte. Just really struggled in this one. 1 inning pitch, 4 hits and 5 runs, and Jaime Barria had to save this one. Who's the guy we traded out to the Brewers? He was part of the deal for Hunter Renfroe. And he was a reliever, and he was tipping his pitches. And I get him and Jose Marte. I got confused last year, but Marte just seems to be kind of a repeat of that. So watch Marte get traded to another team and flourish, because that's what happened last year, or this year. But again, it's not somebody that is having a really good showing. But this is also the time where you let a guy go out there and give up 5 runs, and you figure it out, and you work through it, and you do better next time, because the Angels are not playing for anything at this point. He's helping the tank. He's helping in terms of getting a better draft pick. But at the same time, we've said it before, it's like spring training at the end of the season. And I know you see guys like Jonathan Diaz out there like working through it and giving up a ton of runs. I mean, the fact is like, better to give them that experience. And the game's already getting away from you anyway. That's kind of how I see it is if you leave somebody like Marte out there on the mound and he struggles through it, then let him fight through it, because where else is he going to learn how to fight through it than at this point of the season, where nothing really matters.
Better he figures it out now than he trying to figure it out next season. And I've been kind of disappointed in how Jonathan Diaz has performed, because
I know
you and I have kind of this like this bro love for him.
Soft spot,
we have a soft spot for him, because we were at a game where he came in because there was an injury, and he ended up pitching, I think, 8 complete innings and pitched really, really well. And so there's a lot of potential with him, but he just hasn't been able to put it all together. And I think Marte, because he was injured, didn't pitch much this year, he's figuring it out. But he's another guy that hasn't put it all together. And that seems to be the case with the Angels. They have a lot of these really good potential guys, but they never become performance guys. And so I would love to see him and see what he could do in this rotation in the bullpen, because gosh, you put him in there with some of the other guys we've already mentioned, and I think he could be a really great piece for this team. John, in this game, the Angels did lose. It was not a fun game to watch, 9-3.
No, it was not.
The offense came from Neto and Drury, and so thankful for those guys. We mentioned Anderson, and he's going on the IL. John, is there a world where Tyler Anderson gets traded this offseason? And if he gets traded, is there a good piece that could come back? I mean, his contract is pretty reasonable and pretty affordable. So is there a potential where he gets traded and the Angels just run with all of their young guys?
Elvis Peguero, by the way. That's what I was looking up here.
I kept thinking Oliver. I don't know why Oliver came to my mind, but I didn't want to say
Oliver
that out
loud. He was on the team last year.
That's probably who I was thinking of. Yeah.
Regarding Anderson, the fact that he's got $26 million left, he's $13 million a year. That is a steal, and it was a steal before the season.
Yeah.
And it'll continue to be a steal next season. Mike, the Dodgers are going to be looking to replace a not hard throwing fastball lefty who was part of the rotation and probably won't have a career in baseball after this year. If the Dodgers want to make a move to bring Tyler Anderson back to their team and help him find the success he had with the Dodgers last season, then I'm all for it. If they move Tyler Anderson, I'm all for it. I think that any team who's going to want a pitcher will be all over that, and they will be able to go, oh yeah, we can figure that out, because that's how it always goes with these teams,
right?
Especially teams who have good pitching, and if they need somebody else, then they'll be able to figure it out. I mean, Tampa Bay is down a couple of starting pitchers, and that's going to leak into next season, and so there's probably there will be a possibility there that they might need another starting pitcher, because the few that are out there, your Nolas and your Sonny Grays and your Blake Snells, everybody's going to be all over those guys. So
they're going to be expensive.
And if there's a world where some sort of team needs a starting pitcher like Tyler Anderson and can help him get back and get right, I think that they go for it. I think that you make that move, and I think you could get a nice piece back. I don't know if it'll be a starting pitcher, but you could get something back. I trust Perry with his ability to take what he has and turn it into something good. Yeah. Given that we've done that with Syndergaard and Moniak, and then Marsh and O'Hoppe. So I think that Perry would be able to do that with Tyler Anderson.
Can we be ridiculous fans and make stupid suggestions like, how about Anderson for James Ottman? How about, right? Like, that always seems to be the case, right? The fans are like, well, you could just trade him and you could pick up this really nice piece.
It's get like an Outman or,
yeah. I like that. That's the voice that you do. By the way, we talk about the IL. Trout was announced yesterday that he is going to be on the 60-day IL. We knew he wasn't going to come back, and I think this is the best move. We talked on this pod last week about, like, if he needed the opportunity, he needed to swing the bat in the regular season before the offseason, then let him come back. But I think it's smart, because you want his hand to fully heal. You don't want to push him, and he's getting older. And so I think it's a really good move. And unfortunately, it's the third year in a row now that we haven't had a full season of Mike Trout. And gosh, I would love to have a full season of Mike Trout. It's been a long time since we've been able to celebrate that and see that.
It's tricky, because the calf thing is one of those like freak injuries that you don't realize that you need to work on until it happens, which was 21. The back issue, obviously, you need a little more stretching, you need to get an adjustment, you do all that sort of stuff, physical therapy, all that. He came back and ended up hitting the 40 home runs last season. And then you have this hamate bone fracture, the hamate bone that breaks. Again, like something that's out of your control. And, he came back for a day, wasn't feeling good, and the Angels weren't going anywhere, so you just got to shut that down. I think if he can avoid the freak injuries like this sort of stuff, then we can get a full season of Mike Trout. We've had this conversation before. Does he go to a corner? Does that help? Yeah. I mean, going to a corner outfield spot doesn't help your hamate bone. Right. It doesn't fix that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You're de-aging. It doesn't help that either, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I mean, it just makes sense for him to take the rest of the season off. It is unfortunate and it is unfair. Mike, we totally glossed over the fact that on Saturday we had that incredible play up the middle from David Fletcher and Michael Stefanik. Two really good plays. But man, that backhanded flip to Stefanik, and then he barehands it and throws it to first for the double play. I mean, that's why they win 1-0. And that was an incredible play at the end of the day. So really great to see those guys putting it together. Again, Fletch, it doesn't impress me at the plate, but if he's going to be a guy you can count on in the infield, then what the heck? Like I said, no expectations for 2024.
we like Squid in that spot.
I know we played a whole season of Squid.
I know. And then Fletch has been flexing in the last couple of games, right? Like, defense, you want to watch me play? Watch me play.
All because we didn't want to hit the contract guaranteed minimum that he's going to get when he hits 5 years. So great job, front office. Great job, Artie Moreno and John Carpino. Fantastic.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Remember, they play the Rangers tonight at 6:38, and you can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. If you're watching on the YouTube side, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out more than you know. And then comment below. The best way you can reach us and get instant answers is down in the YouTube comments. We'd love to hear from you. Mike, what do we have on deck for tomorrow's show?
John, what the heck happened with Esty?
Like, what the heck? You got to do the fresh head bob.
That's going to be the segment. What the heck happened with Esty?
Yeah.
He thinks he knows. And so we're going to talk about what he said, and then we're going to respond to it tomorrow on Locked On Angels. What the heck?
That's what he said. All right, friends. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Carlos Estevez. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
Yeah, my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
That fresh head bob.
That's right.
It's like epic. We should copyright it.
Trademark.
Trademark it. That's what we need to do. What the heck?